Hey guys, welcome back to Analog Daydreams. Today we have another edition of Fresh Finds, and this is the haul that I kind of got after Christmas with a lot of places, you know, having a lot of albums on sale, so I figured get some stuff, flesh out the collection. Um, we got a big eBay haul in here too. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So the first record that I got, first album that I got, Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction, the 2 CD edition, with the bonus tracks and all of that. You get the Sound City sessions, you get some of the stuff off of, GNR Lies. This is a nice set. I wanted more GNR. Currently looking for GNR not Lies, Live Era, my bad. Looking for Live Era. I've been looking for it for a while. Might pull the trigger on it soon, so I figured, why not get something like this that bridges the gap between having demos, B-sides, different kind of, just a nice assortment of everything with arguably one of the most classic rock records of all time. And this thing's really cool, man. It comes with the OG artwork, which is like super cool, the OG band artwork. Because, this is the artwork that we know and love now, but for a time, this was the original, and it was super rare. It still kind of is, but they reissued it, I believe, on vinyl with the OG artwork and CD and whatnot. So it's kind of, I guess, brought the value down, but still pretty cool. You get this really cool gatefold of the band, and Guns N' Roses are a band that I've loved ever since I was a kid. They were one of the first bands that I ever really got into. They're one of the first bands I remember hearing on the radio when I was a kid. So it's really cool to have some of their stuff. I'm a big Slash fan. I think Slash is great. Big Use Your Illusion fan. I love those 2 records, and I love that whole era. I think a lot of the live shows from the era are amazing. So, the next record we got, mind you, the first 3 things I got from You Discover Music and their big, half off sale, so I got this for $5, which is great, and I missed out on it when it came out, I think back in 2019, so it's great to finally have it, but this next record is something I've been looking for a couple of years now. It's not something that's rare necessarily, it's something that I've been ooh, do I want to get this on vinyl or CD, or what kind of CD version do I want, because they've remastered this thing so many times. So I figured I might as well get it, get the latest reissue or whatever, see if I like it, and then if I really like it, go out and buy the box set. So that being one of my favorite bands of all time, the Rolling Stones, and their record Goat's Head Soup. Now, this comes at an interesting time for the Rolling Stones. This is right after Exile. This is right after, Sticky Fingers. That whole crazy period, right after tail end of the 60s. Such a great record. Winter's probably one of my favorite Rolling Stones songs. It was a song when I was 17 and I had on repeat after I saw them. And just happy to get this. This is a record that, is a must-have for a Stones fan, and I'm trying to complete my 70s Stones collection. I'm missing this, and it's only rock and roll, and I think that's it, apart from compilation records and various live records. So really cool to finally own that. And I could have got the 2 CD, and I wanted to, because the 2 CD has Scarlet, and I loved that song when that came out during 2020. But I figured it wasn't really justifiable just for that couple of other, random bits and pieces, when I could just buy the box set, because the box set right now is $50-$60, and I'd rather just have everything, than just the little scaled down 2 CD, whereas for Guns N' Roses, for Appetite, that felt more justifiable because it had, you know, a wide array of different stuff. So, yeah, so this next record I got is something that I've wanted also by the Rolling Stones for a minute. Um, this was the first Stones release that I can remember being like super hyped up for, and like, you know, I was 13 at the time, so Blue and Lonesome had just come out the year before, and I love that record, but I wasn't super hyped for it. I was hyped because it was a new Stones record at the time, and I'd just gotten into the Stones when I was 12. Um, you know, my parents got me into them, and so I was like super excited and happy for it. But you know, it's a good record, but it's a blues covers record, and after a while, it was just like, okay, this is cool. But this was really exciting, and a lot of people were excited for this when this came out. And that is the Rolling Stones On Air. And what this is a collection of live performances from 63 to 65. The OG Stones, the original lineup Stones, Brian Jones, you know, before Altmont, before, you know, Brian Jones left the band, before Mick Taylor, before Ronnie Wood, you know, this was like the Stones becoming who they were today, or who they are today, you know, and there's some great versions on here. I mean, a lot of my favorite Stones songs are on here, and a lot of my favorite covers of theirs that they've done are on here, like Spider and the Fly, It's All Over Now, Mona. I mean, that version they do of Mona is so awesome, man. There's nobody like Mick Jagger. There's nobody like Keith Richards. And this record is so cool, and it's a really important time capsule of one of the greatest bands ever. So you get these really cool photos of them, which is like crazy seeing how young they look in this. And then you get the 2 discs. And so I went for the 2-disc set because I'd seen the 1-disc set at various record stores over the years, but I've always wanted the 2-disc, and I could never find the 2-disc. And so You Discover Music had a bunch of Stone stuff, you know, half off, which is great. So yeah, this next record I got on Amazon. This is by another one of my favorite bands, and that is Vampire Weekend's Father of the Bride. And now, this record for me is super nostalgic. I was 15 when this came out, and the hype of like a brand new Vampire Weekend record and all of the stuff that came with it was so exciting, because this was their first record since Modern Vampires. It had been 6 years, and this thing charted at #1, which is crazy. You know, you don't see too many alternative bands chart at #1 in America anymore. I know the UK is different. It's a little bit more easier for a band to chart over there than it is in America. You know, and I know Coldplay charted at #1 over here with Moon Music last year, which that's a great record. I was really happy to see them chart at #1. But yeah, I love this record. And when I saw them live, hearing some songs off of this record was so cool, because this is what got me into Vampire Weekend. That being This Life, Hold You Now, Harmony Hall, Sympathy's amazing, and Sunflower, and everything else on here is great, you know. And I don't think Vampire Weekend has one bad song, let alone one bad record. I think all of their music holds up over time. They're one of those rare bands that you could put on any one of their records, and every one of their records are the same, if not better quality. It's very hard for me to pick my favorite Vampire Weekend record, but I would say it's this one or Contra, although I do like the new one. So yeah, I realize I just spent 9 minutes talking about 4 albums, so we're going to move along a little bit quicker here. So I went and, you know, I was looking on eBay, found a bunch of cool stuff, but I couldn't find exactly what I was looking for. So I figured, why not look for some CD lots, see if I can score any deals on some stuff. And yeah, I found a 9 CD lot for like $10, a great deal. And so in that lot, we got Duran Duran's first record, Rio, which is incredible. Nothing like Duran Duran, you know. The early 80s new wave stuff for me is just so fascinating and some of my favorite music ever. And, I don't have much of Duran Duran. I have some stuff on vinyl. I've been an avid collector of their dance singles from the 80s. Whenever I can find those, I'll always get them. So I don't have much on CD, and this is a great way to start off, I feel like, to build my Duran Duran collection. The next album we got is March 16th to 20th, 1992 by Uncle Tupelo, and that is basically Jeff Tweedy's pre-Wilco days, and I love Wilco, and I didn't know who these guys were initially. I knew some, bits and pieces. So this is a really cool record, and, Wilco would come later, and I believe another band, I can't think of their name, but they would come too, and Jeff Tweedy just fascinates me. He's one of those songwriters that I really admire, and it's really cool to have something like this to show his progression, or to see his progression from 92 to modern day, which is really cool. So the next thing we got is Aretha Franklin's Lady Soul, and this is a classic record. And, another cool thing about this is it's the reissue with bonus tracks. So you get Ain't No Way mono single version, Since You've Been Gone mono single version. You get the mono singles on here, which is really cool. And that's what I like about Rhino Records. I feel like Rhino Records, with their acts, they tend to really put care into, reissuing these records and giving us music fans more bang for our buck. Whether that's 3 or 4 extra bonus tracks, it still makes a difference. Like, I have some INXS records, and I love INXS, and they all come with bonus tracks, especially Kick, and that's really cool, to get 5 or 6 bonus tracks with your regular album. You don't really see that necessarily anymore amongst other labels. I feel like Rhino's the only one that does it. I feel like Rhino's the only one that cares about the music fans. They're always doing $25 vinyl and $18 2 CD sets, and, classic album series with bonus tracks, which is great. So yeah, excited to have this because I don't have much of Aretha Franklin on CD. I have some stuff on vinyl. I have a live record. So it's cool to get a classic record of hers. Now, this one was also in that eBay lot, and this is another band that I absolutely love. A band that I originally didn't like for some reason when I was 13, 14. It took me actually until I was 18 to get into these guys, and that is Depeche Mode, and this is their greatest hits, their best of record. Oh no, my bad, it's the singles, 86 to 98, and I love a good singles comp, because, you get all the A-sides, you get the B-sides, you get all the classic stuff. Basically, a greatest hits record, but more of like a sincere greatest hits collection, because I feel like with the best of or greatest hits, you're just going to get the hits. You'll get the hit singles, you'll get the deep cuts and all that. Here, you just get all the singles from, the chronological order, and that's really great to have as a music fan, and I love a good singles record. But yeah, sorry guys, it's been a day. So, this next record came in that set is a classic indie rock record. That's Franz Ferdinand's big major label debut. Take Me Out's on here. This came out 2 years before the Arctic Monkeys debut record, and I think, being the Arctic Monkeys fan that I am, I think this record had a lot to do with them signing with Domino Records, because when this record came out, Domino became like the biggest indie label overnight, and a good band. I know a lot of people give Franz Ferdinand a lot of flack for their sound. I think they're great. I love a lot of their other stuff. And they got a new album coming out this year, which is really cool. Um, Super cool to hear that. Super excited to listen to it. Yeah, so next up we've got Alone Volume 2, the home recordings of Rivers Cuomo. And this for me was the big decider of buying this little CD lot because I've been looking for this forever. I'm a big 90s rock guy. I love Pinkerton, love the Blue Album, love 90s Weezer. And a lot of this stuff on here is from songs from The Black Hole, the unreleased Weezer record that got scrapped and never came out. But a lot of stuff, has since seen the light of day, and a lot of that stuff's brilliant. So to get that stuff on here is really cool. To get really any early Rivers stuff is super cool, you know, um, which is like awesome. And Can't Stop Partying's on here, which is like a classic. So really, really cool to get this. Really happy to get this. Now, this was the main decider. I know I said the last one was like the big decider. This was the main, and I love grunge, and I've been searching for this record, and this is another one of those cases where it's not a rare album. You could find it anywhere, you know. You could find this record anywhere, really, and that is Temple of the Dog, self-titled, and I mean, what a classic record. Such a classic record. You've got Chris Cornell, Eddie Vedder on Hunger Strike, which is like insane. You basically have members of Pearl Jam and Soundgarden together as one band, and this was a tribute record for I can't even think. Oh my God, so sorry. I can't even think of the name of Mother Love Bone. Yes, sorry, Mother Love Bone. This was a tribute record for the lead singer of Mother Love Bone, who died, passed away the year before this record came out. And Mother Love Bone was one of those bands that they could have been on a Nirvana level. Highly recommend listening to Chloe Dancer if you've not heard that. That's such a great record, great song. Such a great song. Overall, the Mother Love Bone catalog's insanely good. And I didn't know who they were until I heard this, and yeah, so really cool to own this finally after like searching for this for years, man. So yeah, that's the eBay pile. Also, I went thrifting the other day ago, and I found 3 other CDs. So first up, we have The Best of Carly Simon. Now I had this on vinyl, and so I had this on vinyl, the Friday Music Barnes & Noble Red Vinyl reissue, and I loved it, but I just wasn't playing it that much. I was too afraid to play it because it was such a pretty record. So I traded it in, when I was going through buying a bunch of my Stone Roses stuff and all that. So I always said if I ever saw this on CD, I'd pick it up because I love Carly Simon and I love You're So Vain with Mick Jagger on the backing vocals, and the stuff she did with James Taylor is really cool. And this is just stuff that I grew up listening to. I mean, this is stuff that was on those 70s, 80s, hits radio stations, and nothing like Carly Simon. She doesn't get the credit that she deserves, She really pushed the door down for a lot of female artists, her and Pat Benatar, and basically every female artist in the 70s, Carole King, Joan Baez, Patti Smith, they all, contributed to making music accessible for everybody, which is a great thing. And yeah, so this is really cool to own, and finally happy I don't have to buy a vinyl copy. I just have the CD, which is nice. So yeah, next record we got is some Dave Matthews Band. Oh my God, sorry. I am like going through a lot right now with my allergies. So we've got Crash by Dave Matthews Band, and I never was a big Dave Matthews Band fan, or Dave Matthews fan in general. I kind of thought they were lame, when I was like 14, because they'd come out with a new record at the time, and it was all over like Sirius XM, and I believe that record went #1, which is crazy. You know, in an era where rock acts or rock adjacent acts could have a #1 album in America is crazy. You just don't see it that much. And I'm not like trying to come across as like complaining. I'm a chart geek, you know, I chart nerd, statistics nerd. I love music statistics. I might make a video series about, you know, one-hit wonders and stuff like that in the future. But that fascinated me, you know. It had been their first record in a while, I think. So maybe that was the cause. But, you know, this record's a classic. You've got Tripping Billies and So Much to Say and Crash Into Me. I mean, these are the hits. This is, I think, what broke them in America and elsewhere. So I always wanted this record too, and you know, found it at a thrift store for $1.50. It's a good deal. And finally, the last record we have is Collective Soul's self-titled record, and Collective Soul is another one of those bands that, you know, listening to 90s rock radio when I was a kid, I would hear December and I'd hear all the hits, and I really liked them, you know, and I wanted to get into them more, but I just never did past the hits. So, you know, I could have went with the best of record, I could have went with the greatest hits or singles collection or one of the three. I decided to just go with this classic record because, you know, saw it at the thrift store, add it to my 90s collection, and, you know, just another one of those classic post-Nirvana records. And it's so funny saying post-Nirvana, but, you know, stuff like this, Monster by R.E.M. is post-Nirvana. And what I mean by that, post-Kurt, you know, and all of that stuff. And it's really fascinating to look at those times, to see what rock music was like in late 94 going into 95, because you had Oasis with Definitely Maybe in early of 94, and then you had them again with Morning Glory, you had the whole Britpop thing, you know, you had the Stone Roses putting out their last record, you know, and Blur, a bunch of crazy stuff was coming out in 94 and 95. Soundgarden's Super Unknown was coming out, you know, or was out. Stone Temple Pilots had Purple out, so there was a lot of great records that were out at that time, but because of what happened, it's really fascinating to see how that kind of changed things, you know, because later on you'd have nu metal, and then you'd have the garage rock revival of the Strokes, White Stripes, all of that, Libertines, you know, Kings of Leon, all of that stuff, and now you have modern day where it's like Phoebe Bridgers, Inhaler, Fontaines DC, you know, Boy Genius. You have your influx of folk artists and indie rock bands. You have Wallows. I love Wallows. They're another great band. But yeah, so there's a lot of fascinating stuff to look at with this record regarding the time period that it came out in. And that might be something that I talk about in the future. You know, maybe we'll do a video series on what came out after, you know, Kurt tragically passed away and all of that stuff, because it fascinates me, and I'm a big music nerd, you know, and that's what this is too. I ended up picking up a book just for the book collection this year, and that is Paul McCartney's The Lyrics, and I'm a big McCartney fan, so I'm excited to read this, you know, because to get insight from McCartney is really cool. And, you know, he said he was never going to do a autobiography or a biography, so this is the closest thing that one would get. So, yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed that. Yeah, thanks for watching, thanks for the support in the first episode. Sorry that this is such a long video, there's just so much here in this space at this time. But yeah, let me know what you guys are listening to in the comments. I love hearing new music suggestions. But yeah, catch you guys on the flip side.